Hi, welcome back. I wanted to do a little reaction video about the movie Disclosure Day. Many of you have probably already seen it. If you haven't seen it, you might not want to watch this because I'm gonna give some little clues away as to what happened in the movie. I'm gonna talk a little broadly about it, and go into some specifics, but I really wanted to talk about Disclosure Day and how, my reaction to it and my feelings about it. And I'm curious about yours. Have you seen it? Did you like it? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? At any rate, I wanted to share that, I went into that movie. I really wanted to see it, but I'm super sensitive to like action movies and sometimes those are hard for me to watch, and I knew it was kind of an action movie. And so I was a little nervous about going to see it. I really wanted to see it, but I just saw it this week and it's been out for a month. And I just saw it this week because I was traveling. My schedule wasn't allowing me to go see it. And I finally saw it this week and I ended up seeing it twice. Didn't really have time for that, but I did. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. And I wanted to, like, I really resonated with it. And the, it wasn't just the extraterrestrial galactic being aspect of it. That was interesting, but it was a lot of the spiritual aspects of it. So, for example, and if we haven't met before, I'm Julie Cluff. I went through a pretty profound awakening in 2010, 3 years after my youngest two children passed away in a rollover car accident. And then since then, I've been connected to angels. I've been channeling angels, and I've been doing mediumship work and connecting with the other side, connecting people with their loved ones on the other side, connecting people with their guides and their, offering spirit guidance and that kind of thing. So I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the new followers that have come in. I appreciate all of the wonderful people. Thank you for coming to see me and for trusting me with your loved ones and with your questions. And I really appreciate that because it's been a lot of fun to meet so many of you. But one of the aspects of this movie that I really appreciated is when Emily Blunt comes into the scene. And we see her in her kitchen and she's buzzing around and she's getting ready to leave for work, and she's talking with her partner, and she starts saying, like, I'm feeling like I need to move. And she's not, it's like she's having these feelings like things need to change, but not really being able to put her finger on it. And then this bird flies through the window, and that bird is sitting on the table. Now, one of the criticisms I've seen of the movie is that the animals, the CGI doesn't look realistic. It's not supposed to look realistic. That bird was not a bird. That bird was a visitor. And so she has this like eye to eye contact with this bird. And then suddenly she starts speaking Russian, and her boyfriend's looking at her like, what's going on here? And so, but it's after that happened that then we see her connecting with people and having understanding about people than that she didn't have before, and not really knowing where that came from. And I could really appreciate that. Like, I think a lot of times people come to like a psychic medium and they think, oh, they know everything about my life and they know, you know, I, I don't think it's quite like that. Like theatrically, that was a beautiful thing to watch. Was like she knew exactly this and that and the other, and that does come through, but not quite the way that it did for her. But at any rate, it what it represented was an awakening in her of her inborn. Like we all have these inborn abilities to be psychic to connect to the other side. So that's an aspect that was really interesting to me, really caught my attention, is this humanity shifting in consciousness. And I think one of the aspects of the movie that was really interesting too was that everything was depending on these two people. And even at one point, I'm just going to call him the director. I don't know what he was, the guy that was putting together this set that they ended up on towards the end of the movie. He and I don't remember his name. Sorry, I should have looked up these people's names. But at any rate, at one point, and it's like it's all about you too, like you too, or you know, and I that aspect of it I didn't really resonate with because I feel like it's really all of us. It really is all of us. And so I know I'm not talking about like the galactic aspect of it, but I will get into that. The other thing that was interesting to watch was how hard it was on her and how hard it was on, Emily Blunt. I don't remember the other actor's name, that also was having this experience, and then they were brought together. How, like, she was really, really struggling, and you saw the struggle. She's like, I don't know what's happening. But she was going with the flow. She was trusting her intuition. Even though she didn't totally understand what was happening, her intuition was essential. And this was, to me, was a big theme of the movie, and a big theme I think that we can take away from personally is to trust our intuition. I've had experiences more recently where I felt like, and I'm trying to think of it, I've mentioned this before, and I struggle to kind of think of specific instances, but it's kind of like this thing where, I was at the store and I didn't pick up this particular thing, and then I needed it later in the day. And I remember in the store thinking, oh, I should probably, pick up an onion. I don't know. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, which I do a lot. But and then coming home and going, oh, I needed that onion. And I had that thought to pick up an onion and I didn't do it. And we'll have those instances where our intuition, our spirit guides, our higher self, whatever you connect with is speaking to us, and we're not noticing until later when we realize, oh, wow, that actually would have been really helpful if I had called that person, or if I had taken a right instead of a left, or if I had picked up that tomato in the produce aisle at the grocery store. And so that was a big theme for me, was this idea of paying attention to the intuition. Her intuition was really ramped up after her awakening. And so all of this is condensed into a, over 2 hour movie, but these are really important themes, and important themes that we can connect to. Our guidance is always available to us, our spirit guides, our angels. If you connect to the galactic realm, all of that is available to us. We're always you always want to be in that space of, I'm connecting with the highest, and the spirits of the highest and best intentions for me, and always having that intention in mind and receiving that guidance. And we see how in the movie these very specific things came into play so that she ended up in the right places at the right time, protected. Like, we see her going in when she meets, and I can't remember his name, but when she meets the man that she was like connecting with, that she was feeling like she needed to go to this place and that place and connects with him, and how they were protected in their journey out of that particular space. But then there were other, dangers. And of course, that's part of the movie, right? There were other challenges that they faced, but discernment is more important than ever. And being able to discern, and that's what she was doing. That's what they both were doing. They were following their intuition and discerning what was in their highest and best interest, which when we act on what's in our highest and best interest, always with that intention that it's also in the highest and best interest for our families, for our community, we will um it will be good. Discernment is really important. I have some notes here because I wanted to remember some certain things. Like she was following the call. She was following the call of her heart. That's why I'm here doing the work that I'm doing now. I remember, and it's probably been more than a year ago now, I was having kind of my almost daily discussion with my guidance team. And I was like, can you give me a clue of where I'm going to be in 6 months? And they're like, would you have believed us 6 months ago if we told you where you were going to be today? And I was like, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I wouldn't have. And it is, you know, I was having these mediumistic experiences, and then those mediumistic experiences were showing up, first showing up in the grief sessions I was doing, then showing up in the intuitive sessions I was doing. And I'm like, I need to understand this better because that's a huge responsibility. And I take that responsibility very, very seriously. Um, I don't ever want to be in a session with somebody where I want to be supporting, I want to be supporting spirit. So I don't ever want to be misrepresenting someone on the other side. And so I decided to begin taking mediumship classes. And this has been now over 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. I decided to pursue some training in mediumship, never intending to be a medium. A little secret. I never intended to be a medium. I was just doing these classes because this was showing up and I wanted to understand what to do with it. But the more training I received and the more confidence I received in the mediumship, the more my guides were sharing with me that this is part of the work for me to do is to um, is to do mediumship work specifically. And so I loved that part of the movie. Like she was following the call, not knowing exactly where it was going to lead. And that's what another takeaway that I had from the movie. From the galactic being aspect of it, I feel like, and I've had this impression for a long time, I feel like if we do have contact with galactic beings, if we're already having contact with galactic beings, and I've had some experiences in this way, um, that if they are advanced, as we have been inclined to feel like they are, if they are as capable as we are as inclined to believe that they are, then I have to believe they're benevolent beings because if they have this advanced technology and this advanced way of, you know, traveling from in space or dimensions or whatever they're traveling within, they could have wiped us out a long time ago. I'm just saying, like, I just feel like they could have squashed us like ants. So I just feel like there's more benevolence and that we don't need to be scared, worried, afraid. I visited, this was wild. I looked up the name. Let me see if I can find it again. I visited this city that's Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but look up Oak Ridge, Tennessee Atomic Heritage Foundation Nuclear Museum. There was a whole city that was built in beginning in 1942. It was a plutonium plant. They were producing plutonium and an uranium enrichment plant. But it was a secret city that the government put together in the hills of Tennessee because it had the electrical infrastructure that they needed. I don't, however that worked. And it also had kind of secrecy because of the wooded, mountainous, kind of hilly area that it was in. But going to that city and visiting that, I'd never even heard of it. And we had visitors and they wanted to go visit this. I'm like, I'd never even heard of it. This was a secret for many, many years. This city where they were producing plutonium and uranium and had this full plant. And it was a secret. It was a government secret. It was a secret, even to a lot of the people who were working there. They knew that it was that they couldn't talk about the work that they were doing, but they also weren't aware, many of them, especially like the line workers, from my understanding, weren't even aware of the danger that they were in working in that plant. So uh, it's fascinating. So to think that government can't keep secrets from us or, not to spread, I'm not trying to spread conspiracy theories. I'm not trying to like advocate for, anything that's happening. I'm not saying this or that or the other is happening. I just found this movie fascinating. I found it enlightening. I found it resonating. I could resonate with this idea of the awakening and this and having these gifts that are, like trying to wrap your head around how certain things, and all of that was just really tremendously fascinating. And so if you haven't seen it yet, I'm giving you a bunch of spoilers. I apologize for that, but I warned you at the beginning. Go see it. If you have seen it, either way, let me know what you think. What do you think of these comments? What do you think of these ideas? But I just felt compelled to share a little bit of my thoughts and feelings about it. So have a beautiful day, as always. Bye.